US President-elect Donald Trump has threatened all hell will break out in the Middle East if Israeli captives held in Gaza are not returned before he takes office in less than 2 weeks' time. He was speaking at a news conference in Florida alongside Steve Witkoff, his nominee for Middle East envoy. A Hamas spokesman said Trump should make more disciplined and diplomatic statements, and the group's conditions remain the same: an end to Israel's war on the Strip.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Can you elaborate? And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given him back a long time. They should have never taken him.
Introducing Sami al-Arian. He directs the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University, and he joins us from Istanbul. Welcome to Al Jazeera, Sami. So look, we've just heard from him. Let's talk Trump, repeating this statement that all hell will break out in the Middle East if the captives aren't released by the time he's in office. From a diplomatic perspective, what does a comment like that actually mean in reality?
Not much. Trump is being true to himself. With his imperialist mind, he thinks whenever he says something, people will just have to bow and say, okay, sir. The framework of the negotiations and the terms for an agreement have been known for a long time, at least since last May, when Biden himself presented his plans or his ideas about how to go with these negotiations. Hamas has been, and the other groups in Gaza have been very flexible in trying to meet these. But the terms have been known: complete cessation of hostilities, the ending of this Israeli genocidal war, the full withdrawal of Israel, the exchange of the captives, and in that we have historical experience, as well as last time, which was in November 2023, when there was an exchange, and also allowing the aid to go to Gazans, as well as the reconstruction project. The mediators, the Qataris, the Egyptians, the Americans, know fully well who has been obstructing and blocking. Every time they reach an agreement, right, Netanyahu comes back and asks for new conditions. For example,
Understood. Let's reflect on the efforts most recently then to free the captives, because in recent days, indirect talks between Israel and Hamas have resumed. Hamas, in principle, saying it would release these 34 captives, that list initially provided by Israel to mediators. Hamas responding, saying it needs time and indeed security on the ground to report back on their status, presumably if they are dead or alive, that is. How do you evaluate these recent efforts here in Qatar?
Exactly. I was trying to give these two examples, and you're absolutely correct. When they said we needed the status of these hostages, for these captives, 34 of them, they said, okay, we need 2-3 days, because these things are going to take time, and they need some reprieve from these relentless efforts of bombing them, so that we can tell you exactly who is alive, who is not, who is injured, who is not, and so on and so forth. It's been Netanyahu who would say, okay, one day, and then changes his mind the following day because of his cabinet, his fascist right-wingers who are dictating to him and what to do. And one day they said, okay, we're going to withdraw initially to 500 meters from the borders, or within 500 meters. And then next day he says, no, it's 1,000 meters, 1,500. So every time they reach some kind of an agreement, he comes back and changes his mind. He thinks he can get them out because of political and military pressure. And I think what Trump is trying to do is to increase that military, as if he is going to do anything more than what they have been doing. All this carnage, all these massive casualties that have taken place in Gaza, what else is he going to do? So instead of killing 50 or 60 or 80 a day, he's going to kill another 100. Is that going to make any difference?
I wonder, you said it yourself, even as these talks in Qatar resume, Israeli forces continue their unrelenting attacks on Gaza. Discussions around the release of captives may have intensified, but what about Hamas's repeated demand? You've said it yourself, namely a ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli forces. Does Hamas need to have some kind of incentive, clear incentive that is honoured by Israel before it hands over any captives?
Well, they have been very flexible in many of these things, except the red lines, which is there has to be a commitment from Israel and guarantees by the mediators that at the end of this process, there will be ceasefire. What else they can ask for? I mean, it is not death by 1,000 cuts. It has to be this genocidal war must end. And I think that's a demand that has been given not just by Hamas, the whole international community. The United Nations has said that. There are resolutions from the Security Council asking for that. We have the International Court of Justice asking for this now for almost a year. We have 160 or 70 governments who have been asking and demanding this. Everyone in the world except Israel, backed by the United States, who said no. I don't think the Israelis or the Israeli will has to be respected when we're talking about the whole world demanding this end of the genocide.
Sami al-Arian, Director of the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. Good to hear your thoughts and analysis. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.